Good morning and welcome to part 2 of the Public Facilities Commission. I'll give it to TT to do the roll call.
Morning again, Commissioners. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast live. Before we get started, I've asked Colleen Daly to go ahead and take the roll call of the meeting participants. Colleen, if you would conduct the roll call, please.
Thank you, TT. Please unmute your device and confirm your presence when I call your name. Beginning roll call with the Commission. Catherine Craven, Chair.
Present.
Larry Mamoli, Commissioner.
Present.
TT Lee, Legal Advisor.
Present.
Catherine Pendleton, Article Clerk. And with PFD, Carrie Griffin, Director.
Present.
Brian Melia, Senior Project Manager.
Present.
James McQueen, Senior Project Manager.
Present.
I'll read for the record the remainder of the individuals in attendance. Attendees do not need to unmute their device when I call the name. Dana DiMatteo, Assistant Director for Construction. Seamus Highland, Assistant Corp Counsel. Susan Rice, Assistant Director for Operations. Thank you. This concludes roll call.
Thank you, Colleen. Beginning this morning with the Public Facilities Department, we have Carrie Griffin, Director of PFD. PFD has 3 vote requests on the agenda for today. Vote number 1 is being presented by Brian Melia, Senior Project Manager with PFD. This vote concerns an amendment to the vote of May 15, 2019 regarding a contract with Sasaki Architects PC to provide architectural design and construction administration services associated with Boston City Hall and Plaza renovation project located at 1 City Hall Square. This request is for an increase of $2,291,896 to the design services contract. Brian, if you please present your vote request.
Thank you, TT. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to request an amendment to the Professional Design and Construction Administration Services for Sasaki Architects in relationship to the City Hall Plaza project. A little background and history of this project. As TT mentioned, on July 18th of 2018, the PFC approved and awarded the schematic design phase for the initial commencement of this project only. Thereafterwards, the contract was amended by a AVR on May 15th, 2019 for a overall construction value of $61 million. Fast forward 2.5 years later, and I'm in front of you today for a second request for the Public Facilities Commission to amend and execute the Design and Construction Administration Services contract with Sasaki again. This amendment is for additional monies for increased design services. Currently, the project is 65% complete, with site finishes being placed such as concrete foundation, brick pavers, granite blocks, underground utilities, trees and landscaping, along with other site elements included, which would be a new park and water features. Excuse me. As we move forward to the completion of a completion date of June of 2022, the balance of the areas will advance to include the new Civic Building and North Entry. The total fee for the additional design services is $2,291,896. Of that, $684,235 is for the increased design fee for the project, increasing from $61 million to a completed GMP of $75 million. The balance of the $1,607,661 is for the additional services request, mostly for the extensive investigations working in and around the MBTA tunnels to satisfy the loading criteria, including tunnel surveys, geotechnical, geostructural, geoenvironmental tasks, and construction oversight on the project. Upon review by the Public Facilities Department, the proposed fee and additional design services reflects an acceptable price for the work involved. Many of the additional services identified above have been performed in an effort to expedite both design and construction phases while negotiating agreements to ensure fair and comprehensive services. For example, structural capacity ratings, destructive testing, and tunnel inspections are examples of work that needed to be performed prior to commencing demolition to satisfy potential impacts to the zone of influence working in and around these tunnels. There was extensive coordination and research with the MBTA about the tunnels, and the lack of as-built conditions required an urgency to perform these tasks without delay to ensure the project's design, integrity, and schedule were maintained. So for an example, you can imagine these tunnels, the Green Line Tunnel itself was built in 1897. There were no as-built, there were no load capacity surveys. We requested with the MBTA and met with them on numerous occasions to supply us with information. Due to the lack of this information, we had to go and do our own surveys and testing, which increased the additional services amounts to make sure we could, have an adequate design, but also without impacting the MBTA tunnels, which is obviously a very concerning and sensitive subject to the MBTA. I will refer now, Catherine, to I have a couple of progress photos that I have, and I just wanted to show the commissioners where we are. I think these were taken about 3 weeks ago, but you can see in the background, City Hall Plaza. We've got a lot of concrete foundations being installed. You can see the granite walls being put up in that area, yes. Next slide. You can see in the background there, we've installed some of the trees. And that area there is where the old, further back was where the old fountain used to be. So we've filled that in. We've added some nice features, a number of different trees. And right here in the foreground, you can see this is one of the water features. This is a water runnel that will pass through the plaza for people to look at, etc. They can interact with it. Next one. And this is actually a section in the west elevation where we've started some of the pavers. The pavers sit under a concrete deck with 2 inches of asphalt, and then we've got these pavers being installed. So it's a pretty exciting plaza, and will be an exciting project when it's done. With that said, I'll turn it back to the commissioners. If you have any questions, feel free, and I'll answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I have no questions. Commissioner Mamoli, do you have any?
No questions. Actually, I want to compliment PFD on this job. I know the plaza well and the tunnels and so forth. To be quite honest with you, I'm surprised you haven't had to increase costs more than what you've done. With that being said, a motion to approve.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vote number 1 is hereby approved.
And TT, I would like to see the next 2 votes packaged as one, since they both relate to the same. They're both done by James, and they're both related to the accelerated repair program at the MSBA.
Great. Thank you, Chair Cragen. Votes 2 and 3 will be presented by Jim McQueen, Senior Project Manager for PFD. Vote number 2 is a request for amendment to the vote of May 17, 2017 regarding a contract with NV5 Consultants Incorporated for owner project manager services associated with the projects. This request is for an increase of $184,500 to the OPM services contract, with a time extension to the contract's expiration date of through March 15, 2022. Vote number 3 is a request for amendment to the vote of June 21, 2017 regarding a contract with Icon Architecture Incorporated for architectural design and construction administration services associated with the projects. This request is an increase of $5,000 to the design services contract with a time extension also through March 15, 2022. Jim, if you please present vote number 2 and 3, please.
Thank you, TT. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to request amendments to the owner's project management services contract with NV5 Consultants, Inc. and the professional design and construction administration services contract with Icon Architecture, Inc. for the 2016 MSBA ARP project at 5 schools. The Public Facilities Department managed the design and construction of the project located at the Boston Latin School, 78 Louis Pasteur Avenue, the Condon Elementary School at 200 D Street, Channing Elementary School at 35 Sunnyside Street, the John W. McCormick School at 315 Mount Vernon Street and the Paul A. Deaver School at 325 Mount Vernon Street. NV5 Consultants was retained to provide initial OPM services, and Icon Architecture was retained to provide feasibility and schematic design phase services for the project, which included boiler replacement at the Boston Latin School, Condon Elementary School, and the Channing Elementary School, and roof replacement at the McCormick and Deaver schools. Both contracts were subsequently amended through AVRs to include design, bidding, and construction administration phase services. Construction of the boiler replacement projects was delayed and extended as a result of discovery of contaminated materials and compromised structure during demolition of the boilers at the Boston Latin School. Additionally, delays were encountered due to unanticipated long lead times of critical equipment and omissions in the contract documents. As a result, the clerk of the work services provided by NV5 were extended, and this amendment will compensate them for these services. Additionally, Icon Architecture was requested to provide additional structural engineering services to mitigate the structural issues discovered during construction. If I may direct your attention to the PowerPoint slides. Slides depict views of the Boston Latin, Condon, and Channing schools, the 3 boiler replacement projects, which required the additional clerk of the work services and structural engineering services. In accordance with the project's publicly advertised RFQ guidelines for design fee calculation, PFD and NV5 Consultants, Inc. negotiated the additional services as a lump sum of $188,571 and a not to exceed, and negotiated fees with Icon for a not to exceed fee of $5,000 for the professional structural engineering services. In conclusion, I'm seeking the PFC's approval to amend the OPM contract with NV5 Consultants and the professional design and construction and administration services contract with Icon Architecture for the reasons presented, which are also noted in the project background memorandum submitted with this vote request. I welcome the opportunity to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions, Commissioner Mamoli?
I already had to unmute myself. No questions. Motion to approve vote 2 and 3.
Seconded. All in favor of approving vote 2 and 3?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Votes 2 and 3 are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes PFD's agenda for today's meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. All in favor of adjournment of the meeting?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.